Good morning, my magnificent ones. Sue Paulson here, your magnificence mentor. And we're back with another episode of Heaven on Earth. This is episode number 4 already. Today, I want to talk about uncertainty. The big question is, how in the world do we live or experience heaven on earth in the face of all the uncertainty that there is? Change is one constant that is the thread that runs through our lives. I don't know about you, but I haven't felt that I've done the best job of adapting to the changes in my life. There were lots of times when I had to be dragged kicking and screaming from one particular comfortable position to something that put me so far out of my comfort zone that I wasn't sure I could cope. Whether it was changing schools or moving from city to city or dealing with the death of a loved one or some other adversity or tragedy in my life. Oh boy, it created some chaotic uncertainty at times where it felt as if I just wanted to crawl into my bed, pull the covers over my head and say, that's it. I don't want to deal with this. That's it. You might have felt the same. So we're all in this boat together, right? This great gamble that we call life, this game of life that we're immersed in playing. Well, let's face it, it's a gamble. It's just flat out a gamble that I think, so I had a good think about this morning about uncertainty and I was uncertain where I wanted to go with this, but we'll just carry on and see what happens here, because I was mulling over, is there really anything in this life that's certain, that you can count on, that you say, absolutely, 100%? Well, as far as I know, the only thing certain is death. As far as our human bodies are concerned, that we're part of the cycle of life, that we are born at some point, and at some point the body is going to give out and go back to the earth. That's just ashes to ashes, dust to dust. That I think that's pretty certain. That so far of what we know, I don't know anybody whose body has lasted for an eternity. So that's the one thing that I think we can say is certain. In my own personal belief, the other thing that I'm certain about is that we are spiritual beings and we do have eternal life. There's no question in my mind about that. So that gives me a great deal of comfort, because even knowing that I'm at some point going to cast off this mortal coil, I'm not going to die. My spirit is going to live on for forever and ever and ever. Yay. I'm happy about that. I think. I'm not certain. So those are the only two things that I can think of, that one which I think everybody can agree on, about the certainty of the body living for a finite period of time and then no longer living. The second one about the being spiritual beings, that's my belief. Now, that may not be yours. Regardless, it's challenging to deal with so many things in our lives when we would like a guarantee. So even guarantees can be, a company says, well, we guarantee this product for your whole lifetime. Well, but what if it breaks down and the company has gone out of business? Well, there goes your guarantee. So really, there are no guarantees. We have possibilities. We have perspectives on what we think might happen. And it's this sea of wobbliness that I think is disconcerting to, certainly it is to me, and I suspect it is to a lot of people, that we want to be able to count on something. We want to be able to find stable ground so that moving forward, it doesn't feel quite so fearful, quite so strange, because uncertainty can trigger a great deal of fear in people, which can cause them to not make decisions. I know there's times when I resisted making a decision about something because I was so fearful about it that I didn't want to decide, like, oh, don't make me make a decision. And yet that didn't help, because there was an inevitability about what was going to happen, whether I made a decision or not. So how do we deal with that? What tools do we have at our disposal that can help us with uncertainty, that can help us decide one way or another in favor of our highest good, what we most want to do next, what we love to do, whatever? I think it would be important for people to teach their kids that we do have at least 4 inherent power tools within us, tools that we can use to get us through life in a much more rewarding way, and that can kind of pave the way to the heaven on earth that we want. I discovered these or thought about them after I had gone through cancer, and I was wanting to look at, well, how is this for other people, and what did I do to get through it? And I realized, so these 4 came to mind. So the first one was hope. We never know enough to be pessimistic, really, about anything. There's always hope that something is going to shift or change for the better. So when we look down the uncertain road of the future, we don't know which doors might open when we least expect it. We don't know who's going to come into our lives that can help support us achieve the goals that we want to achieve or go the direction that we want to go. We don't know that. And then when it pops up, well, it's kind of exciting to say, wow, I never knew that was going to happen. And it's so good. I mean, just as we don't know what adversity is going to pop up and smack us in the head, there's always the hopeful side. There's always the hopeful side. So I think hope for me is such a powerful tool to lean on, to pull out and say, well, I'm going to hope for the best. I've done what I know how to do to make it an even playing field, or give myself the best chance that I can in moving forward. And I'm going to hope that I've done all I can do, and that maybe the universe will weigh in at some point and help me go the rest of the way, just carry on. So I'm committed to that because I have some hope about that. So I'm hopeful for a positive outcome. That's the first power tool that we have, and we're wired for it somehow. I think it doesn't mean that there aren't times when we feel hopeless, but it doesn't seem to take too much to reassert that hope, that little glimmer that we cling to in the direst of circumstances. I was reading a fascinating book that a friend loaned me called A Man Called Dave by Dave Pelzer. It was the story of his life experiencing horrendous child abuse from age 4 to age 10, when I think is when social services swooped in and took him out of the home. And it was interesting as I read this book, because even when he was fearful for his life because of the level of abuse, he still had this glimmer of hope that somehow he would get through it. He didn't even know how. And of course, when you're only between the ages of 4 and 10, wow, it's not like you're going to have a lot of resources at your disposal, but the hope was still there. There was just this little glimmer somehow. So I think we're hardwired with hope coming into whatever situation we come into. so our youth need to know that there's always hope. We need to be very clear with them, because let's face it, if you have teenagers and they're going through a very uncertain time, it's pretty scary for them because they don't know what's going to happen. They doubt their own abilities, and there's this roller coaster of emotions and hormones and everything flooding their systems. So they need some kind of an anchor. Well, hope is a beautiful anchor that can give them a sense of something to cling to, something to grab onto. The second power tool, so these aren't in any order of importance, there's just 4 of them. The second power tool I'll talk about is faith. When we have faith in something, whether it's a faith in a higher power, whether it's faith in our own abilities, whether it's faith in someone else, or faith in something else, here again, it gives us something to hold on to, that no matter how dark the day, no matter how bleak the circumstances, our faith in our ability to work our way through it, to get to the other side, to find the sun amidst the darkest clouds, again, can move mountains. And I remember there's a quote from the Bible. I'm not sure where it was, but it had something to do with you only need faith, enough faith the size of a mustard seed. Well, I have a jar of mustard seed in my cupboard, and I looked at, they're tiny, 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 tiny. And this idea that that's all the faith that we need to start the process or carry us forward, I thought, well, that's comforting to me. And so in the face of uncertainty, if we have faith that something will shift, something will change, something will be better, then that will again give us some solidity in amidst the uncertainty. Now, okay, what's number 3? Determination. To reach for that one. I think my parents probably called it stubbornness when I was growing up. I seem to have been born with a tremendous amount of determination, stubbornness, because I don't know why, I just was. So if I had my eyes, and still, if I have my eyes set on a certain direction I want to go, I am so determined to go down that path, to see it to its conclusion, to finish what I started, to carry on regardless, that it has served me well. The fact that I'm determined to do something, or to be something, or to learn something, all of that has fueled my energy to keep going, especially in times when I don't really want to do it. So there's things that everybody does, I think, from time to time, and I do too, that are kind of boring or mundane, or they seem so hard. So as an example, I don't have a lot of sitability. So I'm frequently bobbing up from my chair and going off and doing this, that, or the other thing, and then I do something else, and so on. So for me to sit for a concerted period of time, I'm sure the teachers despaired of me sitting still when I was in school, because I fidget. I don't want to sit still. I don't want to focus on whatever's in front of me, because it isn't really my nature. I'm a water sign, and so I'm more wanting to kind of go with the flow and move around. However, there are times when sitability is required. So if the job at hand is particularly important to me, let's take book editing for an example. I'm in the midst of finishing this manuscript that is ready to be done and ready to be published. So I'm doing some final edits. Do I want to do this and go through all these words yet again? No, not really. But I'm determined to see it through, even though it feels painful when I do it, because it's just not my normal way of being, and not something that I prefer to do on an ongoing basis. So I find ways in that determination to make it as easy for me as I can, so that which often means setting the timer for 20 minutes and say, okay, I can sit for 20 minutes and focus. So I have Google set my timer. And then when it bings, up I get from my chair, wander around a little bit, make myself a cup of tea, do whatever. And then, okay, Sue, you need to focus for another 20 minutes. Well, that I can do because I'm determined to finish, because I'm determined to get to the end result, so that it's off my plate, off my mind, and I brought it into being. So determination is a huge tool that we all have. And I think, again, I really believe that these tools, we're born with these tools. They get sharpened to a greater or a lesser degree, depending on how often we feel compelled to use them. The fourth one is courage. Courage to me is a collection of small acts of bravery, where, and courage doesn't mean that you have no fear. Courage means that you can act despite the fear, that you will use whatever you have at your disposal to move through the fear and beyond the fear. So, okay, I'm going to feel the fear and do it anyway. That's courage. And courage is so crucial in the face of uncertainty, when we have no idea if what we're about to embark on is going to turn out well or not. Then we take this deep breath. Okay, I'm in, what's that saying? Ready or not, here I come. And lots of times I didn't feel that ready, but I dived in just simply because it was important. And I found the courage to take that first step, at least. And then, so I took one brave step, and then I took another brave step and another brave step. And eventually the courage was just there. And of course, it doesn't say that if we don't feel we have enough courage to do something, it doesn't mean we can't borrow somebody else's courage, because sometimes we need a little propping up or a little shove of somebody else that says, you can do this. I got faith in you. I'm hoping for the best for you. See all these tools coming into play, and we just say them as a natural course, but think about them for a moment, because we activate them a lot without even realizing that we do. So there's the four tools. We have hope, we have faith, we have determination, and we have courage. All of those can serve to help us build our resilience. So it's often been said that it's not the fact that you fall, it's that you get up again. Well, resilience, when we practice getting up again and getting up again and getting up again, well, that builds resilience in us. We realize, oh, okay, I didn't do it that time, but I'm getting up, I'm trying again. I'm going to go it again. I'm going to go it again. Anything that we learn, so it's a muscle. So it needs exercising, and it needs focus. So resilience can really help us in the face of any kind of uncertainty that's going on in our lives. What I feel is that in activating all of the internal tools that we have, it enables us to be more certain. So it's like the odds of winning, I guess you could say. So in gambling circles where you're betting with money and so on, well, who hasn't bought a lottery ticket? Well, the odds of winning the lottery are, I know here in Canada, it's 1 in however many million, 13, 14, 15, 16 million that you're going to win the actual jackpot. But the certainty is somebody is going to win. It could be you. It might be somebody else. So then you say, okay, well, how do I make better odds than that? Well, you might not buy a lottery ticket and say, oh no, the odds of me winning are slim to none, and so I'm not buying a lottery ticket. However, you might say, based on your talents, your skills, your desires, you might say, well, I'm going to go into business for myself. I'm not really good at working for other companies, so I'm going to go into business for myself. Well, that's pretty uncertain, right? It's pretty uncertain whether you're going to be a success or not. However, there are things that you can do to increase the level of certainty. You can go to business school, entrepreneur school, and find out, well, what is it like to be an entrepreneur? And what do I need to know about the business end of things? You can have a mentor that will support you in all of that. There's a variety of things that we do, sometimes without even realizing it, to make it more likely that we'll get the outcome that we want. So it's really increasing the level of certainty. I'm pretty certain if I do this. So if I have a great recipe for chocolate cake, it's fairly certain if I follow the recipe as written, and I have the right ingredients, and I have the right oven temperature, and I pay attention to what's supposed to happen from step one right to the end, voila, it's pretty certain that I'm going to have chocolate cake. But if I mess with the formula, well, it might not turn out quite the way I had envisioned. And sometimes things happen, and you go, okay, well, it's more like chocolate pudding, actually. I wonder what I didn't do or what I could have done differently. So an experiment, right? So really, in this experiment we call life, this game we call life, on any given day, in any given moment, we are just doing the best we can. I think we can improve our odds of having things turn out even better by using the power tools that we have. And of course, establishing our own mindset, because so much of what happens to us can be shifted because of our mindset. If we're determined to feel hopeless about anything and everything, there's going to be a result from that you may not like. So that might lead you down the hell on earth path instead of the heaven on earth path. Your choice, right? And at any given moment, you can change your mind and say, wow, I don't like this stinking thinking that has been permeating my being. I think I'm going to make a shift here and try out what it would be like to be hopeful instead of hopeless. What would it be like to have faith instead of having no faith? To be determined instead of just, oh, well, whatever. What would that be like? And instead of being scared all the time, how can I be brave? How can I, even the smallest step, the tiniest step, can make a difference to help you move forward? I just want you to find the ways that work best for you to be as certain as you can about you and your life and the gloriousness that creating your own heaven on earth can be. So, and do you know why I know you can do this? Because you're magnificent. That's how I know. I see it in you, and I see it in me. Well, we're here, we're magnificent. We might just as well find ways to create that heaven on earth in whatever way that serves all of us, and move forward with it. So until next time, I wish you a magnificent quest as you move from uncertainty, or you deal with uncertainty, into certainty and beyond from there. Oh, and if you're enjoying this conversation, I invite you to comment. I invite you to subscribe to my channel. There is more to come in the Magnificence Lab. Criss Angel and I have been co-creating this amazing community where we get to discuss all of these kinds of things. If you're a change maker and you're determined to make the world a better place, then you may enjoy our conversations and our projects and our ideas on the Magnificence Lab. It's a community that you can find out more about if you go to magnificencelab.org/invite. There's a little video that you can watch that tells you all about us. And I'd love to have you fill out an application and be in touch. In the meantime, take the best care ever. Have a glorious weekend.